Every year, the video game industry tends to speak a very common language in terms of what it presents to you. All industries have trends, and they tend to manifest in terms of what developers are working on, what they're interested in, what the social climate is, what the culture is, where gaming is. Everything's at play. It's like music. Remember that period of time where literally everybody used the Migos flow? Actually, it's because songwriters are having a conversation over that piece. They find one common element and they innovate around it. Here's the Migos in a pop flavor. Here's the Migos with Halsey. Here's one Migo. Every industry speaks in conversations. And in the video game industry, the best place to find out what the conversation is E3. And this year, we had a lot to go off of. By looking at the trends of E3 after all of the years of the show, maybe we can decipher where gaming is going and what's in store for us for the future. So today, let's take a look at the trends of E3 2019 and where things are going. Because gaming is about to go through a very major transition in the next few years. For this, I'm gonna break this down by presentation, genre, and technology, just to make it easier for everybody. Number 1, Cyberpunk Pulp. Every year there's always tonal commonalities between a lot of games or a lot of what people are developing in general. Remember that one year where everything was just freaking zombies? Remember the 80s where everything was Jerry Curl and neon and zombies? This year, a lot of games had a pretty common theme: information overload and a nightmare dystopia based on where technology was going to lead you. In-your-face attitude, punctuated by the consequences of where influencers are gonna take us and branding and everything being interconnected, or you could just call it Cyberpunk 2077. This game had an indelible impact on the entire industry. Everybody knew this was coming for this year. So naturally, all the games had this through line embedded in their DNA. Watch Dogs Legions, future dystopia where you play as the Resistance. The Outer Worlds, corporations rule everything, and this is also not New Vegas, it's a future dystopia. Dying Light 2, zombie virus, lack of resources, future dystopia. This actually makes a lot of sense. In entertainment, a certain tonality is what a lot of people turn to when the economy or the culture is at a certain point. Back in 2003, when we were about to go to war and everything like that, there was a surge of horror movies that came pouring out. Do you remember Saw, the Amityville Horror, Saw 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Do you remember Saw? There's a lot of Saw movies. Well, the same goes for the games industry. Whenever there's a lot of political discord in the air, games where it's you against the world just tend to do better. E3 2003, what was the big game? Half-Life 2 and Jak 2, which all take place in a future dystopia. Number 2, the action shooter RPG thing. Last year was a really good year for action games. Ghost of Tsushima, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Devil May Cry 5. This year, the action RPG is the way to go. And it seems to be manifesting a lot in shooters. A very old school kind of Deus Ex formula. Cyberpunk, Outer Worlds, Borderlands 2, Watch Dogs. And you can kind of see the basic like military shooter taking a minute and downturning this year. It was also a light year for Dark Souls style games. I mean, you had Star Wars doing it and we saw like a picture of Elden Ring. But what can we take from that? E3 2014 was actually a similar year. And had an emphasis on character building games like Metal Gear Solid 5, Destiny, Far Cry 4, Witcher 3, Cyberpunk's older brother, also from CD Projekt Red, was in 2014. Let's for a minute say that this year is a rhyme of that year. Well, then what happened afterwards? Where did the industry go from there? Well, E3 2015, 1 year later, featured the rebirth of a lot of nostalgic shooters and a lot of games trying to push genre mechanics, all determined to try to innovate on the formulas that they had. Overwatch, Street Fighter V, Nier Automata, XCOM 2, No Man's Sky wanted to try to innovate for open world games, but really became kind of like space Minecraft. Gaming has cycles. 1 year they'll just focus on story, themes, aesthetic, ideas, style. And the next year, they'll peek under the hood. Mechanics, innovation, technology. The pendulum swings back and forth. Also, we're in the middle of an intergenerational jump. All the major players are working on a new console. Intel and AMD there's gonna be a lot of things that change in the gaming space, and people are gonna wanna see what their systems can do. Number 3, streaming. Google announced Stadia, and while it did not hit The sky-high expectations they led you to believe it would. It didn't take a rocket scientist to see the next generation of the console wars is going to be about traditional hardware versus streaming. It's part of the discussion now. But streaming has already taken over other entertainment industries. So what can we expect when it's at scale? It's very easy to say, oh, well then hardware is out. Everything's just gonna be Stadia, or Stadia will fail and we'll be playing hardware forever. It's a much more complicated reality than that. Are we just gonna need our phones? Is the connection too paltry? Is the value of a PC or an Xbox gonna basically be as an entertainment hub first, rather than just a gaming machine? What about competitive gaming and esports? What about streaming? Everybody wants to stream their own games. There's obviously going to be taxes on a system trying to stream games out and stream games in. This is the same debate TV, film, and music have been having with streaming forever. And things have just changed. They haven't evaporated. Nobody really buys music anymore. Hey, guess what? Nearly about 100 years ago, the way you made money off of music is actually the same way you make money off of music today. Publishing, merch, sponsorships, and events. It all came back around. What happens in 10 years when VR is at scale and you want to stream a concert to your house? I'll bet you anything, the content itself for the stream is gonna cost you money. And all of a sudden, music will have content cost again. And that's the way it is. Things go round and round and round. We don't know what the future of gaming with streaming is going to be, but we know it is the future. It's undeniable. The place hardware falls within that parameter is a big deal. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but the battle lines are drawn. Xbox Game Pass is coming to PC. Google clearly needs to make a couple tweaks to its system, but it does look promising. Biggest takeaway is the way we play games, experience games, everything is going to change dramatically in the next few years, which means maybe this isn't too far off.